Yes, we do.
We probably, we could talk all day, and you guys offer hunting bullets, so you've covered that,
Yes.
demand for your product, and we just talked about that a lot of people have found your bullets. You guys kind of stumbled on that, didn't you? Did you stumble on that, or did you intentionally do that?
Well, no, we did stumble upon it, and actually what Walt was talking about in the foundation that he set for the company is we actually went out and tried to produce, I say went out, we tried to produce a hunting bullet. And we had two criteria. One was 80% weight retention, because it was believed that was the important thing at the time. And the other one was Walt's requirement of a 1/4 minute of angle, precision, and equally capable rifle. And we were unsuccessful. And we tried different things, different designs, different shapes, different materials to make a hunting bullet that met those two criteria. And we were unsuccessful, so we didn't introduce a hunting bullet, because that is the requirement and will be, as long as I'm around, certainly, and because of what Walt taught me. It just so happens that Walt was involved with a hunt. Actually, Walt was hunting up in Wyoming, and you might want to tell this part of the story.
Our advertising guy by the name of Frank Barkley said, let's go antelope hunting. So we said, okay, we go antelope hunting. So he said, I got a good place to go up in Wyoming. And we went up there and went antelope hunting, and Frank had shot his antelope. And another van drove up, and I didn't know the guys that were getting out of there. Frank says those are, he knew them. That was Burns from the Best of the West. And they were up there with Tom from Stony Point.
Oh, Tom Peterson, good old friend of mine, yeah.
And I don't know exactly what happened between Tom and those people, but they says we were having a problem with Tom, so can we follow you? And Frank says no. I said, well, Frank, let them go. We don't care if they won't tag along.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything. And so they said, I hadn't shot an antelope yet. So he said, there's a pretty good antelope up on that ridge we'd been watching. And they said, well, we'll go over there. And antelope started down towards us. So I shot it, and it was actually it was sort of a spine shot, because it was a one-shot pop, he just dropped in his track. And and then they got to telling us about how good the VLD bullet is as a hunting bullet. It's the best hunting bullet out there. You may not know it, but he says that is the best bullet out there. So we went back and started getting with Eric over here, and from there we just started. And Eric, you may want to tell them what we did on the testing and what have you on that.
Well, and because John had met with us at the SHOT Show soon after that, and expanded that conversation and showed us several hits and several animals being taken by the Bergers. And so what we decided to do, we were happy to see that was working, but for years we had been discouraging people from using a match bullet.
I know that. We contributed to that.
Oh, because that was the rule at the time, was you don't use match bullets for hunting. And we, without any testing, without any verification, we just went along with that same way of thinking.
Yeah.
And so we said, okay, well, this all sounds good. We're going to go and test it. And so we got hooked up with some guys who were using what's called the bullet test tube. It's a fantastic product for what it's used for. Didn't really become successful long term, but it allowed us to see that our bullet actually penetrates and then expands very aggressively, or fragments very aggressively. And this was unique to the Berger bullet. And so we went from there to a lot of shooting into test tubes. Then we went into a hunt in West Virginia to go after some wild hogs. And the thing we were concerned about two aspects. One was, would the bullet be consistent? And so that was what the test tube was for. The other was the idea that the bullet would blow up on the surface on close high impact shots, or high velocity impact shots. And so we took several wild hogs. The longest, I believe, was maybe 75 yards. It was
probably
West Virginia, there's a lot of hills. You don't have a lot of distance. But what we also did is we set the animals up and purposefully shot through shoulder bone, through ham bones, shot with the muzzle 10 inches away, deliberately to try to create a situation where the bullet would be going so fast that it wouldn't get into the vital areas.
So you were trying to set yourself up for failure to see if the bullet would fail.
We were trying to make it fail. We purposefully tried to make it fail, and it didn't, and it just consistently wouldn't. And then that led to another trip to New Zealand, where they have a number of call game that you can just shoot.
Do you need to have me help you in your testing in any way?
You know how many times I get that
yeah,
offer?
I'm sure you do. So,
Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to tell you a little bit about that hunt in New Zealand.
okay.
Now, I'm sort of a 25 caliber guy, and I like a 25 caliber. And to shorten this thing down a little bit, we found some stags on a day, and I was supposed to shoot one. And I told Eric, and I didn't shoot one. I didn't shoot one because it was a very easy shot. It was a broadside shot, and you know, I figured any bullet would work on that particular situation. I wasn't looking for that. I didn't even tell Eric at the time. I was wanting to see if I shoot something, you know, 150 yards out at a sort of an angle shot to see if it would penetrate in from the backside up into the vitals. John Barnes was on this hunt with us.
Oh yeah, well-known, respected writer.
Yes, and so on the second day, one presented that shot, and I shot it from hitting it back towards the rib cage, from where I was firing, and up towards the vital zone. Well, it was so far back, but it hit where I wanted it to hit. John thought I had a bad shot. John said, that's a bad shot, and I was shooting a single-shot rifle. So he jumped up, he was going to give me his rifle to shoot it again. Well, before he got even close to me, it had dropped. It was already dead, you know, it was dead in his feet. John, and I have never told John that, he said, you had a bad shot. I said, okay, that's all right. But it was not a bad shot. Done exactly what I wanted it to do. And that convinced me that, you know, it is a true hunting bullet. It was a true hunting bullet.
And they've taken off like crazy, haven't they?
Oh yeah, it's most definitely our fastest growing line. As we look at the different lines, we had already been very successful in the competition world, and we have a number of people using those bullets. But the hunting group it's just going crazy. Frankly, I mean we're selling a large number of those, and people who use them and experience that, where the animal either drops or drops after a very short distance. They really like it. And the other aspect of it is because they shoot precisely, and because of the high BC that we made entirely for competition shooting, now guys are being able to extend their lethal range. And if they only felt comfortable up to 150 yards, with our bullets, you know, maybe they might extend that to 250 or whatever they feel comfortable, because now they can hit that same size further out. You know, and there are guys shooting as far as 1,000 yards on game and doing very well.
Well, Walt alluded to it earlier, and you know that in certain applications you don't have to have a bullet that shoots a quarter minute of angle.
Sure.
But it sure does, as a shooter and as a hunter, give you a lot of confidence in your shooting ability if you know the bullet's going to go right where you intended to. So I think that's why, whether we're a competitive shooter or a varmint hunter or a game hunter, we continue to strive to get the most accuracy out of our rifle, and the bullet is one of the most important parts of the equation. And if you've got that confidence, you go into a hunt, you go into a match knowing that you have to worry about what you need to do to make that shot count, and the bullet's going to take care of the job if you do your job. So, guys, we could spend a lot of sessions. I'd like to have both of you guys back. You know, if we ever get an opportunity, because I'd like to talk about your hunting bullets, maybe a little more specifically, your target bullets, and then your varmint bullets. And is there anything else, you know, anything new that you want to hint to? I don't want to catch you on the spot, because I know as soon as you hint at something and we publicize this, you're going to get a lot of calls, you know, coming in.
Well, we do have something that's developing that is literally new. It's in its infancy. It's being developed over the last few weeks and months. We're adding the fourth line is our tactical line.
Okay.
And the tactical line is specific to tactical competition shooters, and frankly to guys who deal with bad guys. And those bullets, it's a bit of a unique realm because those bullets, a lot of those bullets have to be magazine fed. Well, magazines are typically short enough that your nose shape is limited and it makes it less efficient. So we can't put our long nose.
So it creates a bigger challenge for you as a bullet maker.
It definitely does. And then it's so that one sense you're trying to create a bullet that allows for the best possible BC, highest possible trajectory advantage, while at the same time you want it to do things that it would need to do on bad guys. And in tactical competition, it needs to be able to withstand the types of environments that those guys deal with. And we've got some bullets, some 30 caliber bullets, and the 338, frankly, is one of those bullets that'll be part of that line that have been introduced. 175 30 cal and a 230 30 cal, both of which are so far the testing looks pretty good.
You don't have that 230 yet.
Yeah,
yeah.
He threw the challenge down. So.
No. Well,
now, tactical bullets, I would imagine we'd see those probably on the Sinclair website eventually as both a bullet for reloaders, but probably an ammunition somewhere available for shooters, because a lot of the tactical market is going to demand and want preloaded ammunition for their use. So we'll probably get into that sometime later in the future. We don't want to get people too excited because they're going to be not calling your ringing the phone off the hook and asking when's that stuff available. So
that 175 grain bullet is a good bullet. It is a good bullet.
I'm looking forward to shooting some of that stuff. So
it'll shoot where you aim it.
And if I may, that bullet was specifically designed for the tactical guys to shoot through the transonic region into the subsonic. And what that means is you've got a 308 case shooting a 175 grain bullet that'll stay supersonic out to 800-900 yards. Well, that bullet will remain stable, and you can actually predict trajectories as it goes through that transonic region, which is very volatile on a bullet, and into the subsonic region. And it's been capable, it's been tested out at distance to be less than a minute of angle dispersion at that distance, and it was deliberately designed for that purpose.
Well, that's fantastic. I think that gives us a lot of subject matters to have you guys come back in. I'd like to talk about ballistic coefficient a little bit more in detail sometime for those people that are really interested in that. And then, like I said, we'll talk about the individual bullets if we can get you back in here to talk about specific bullets. And then just come back in once in a while, guys, and give us an update on what's going on at Berger Bullets. We'd like to hear that in the future. So it's been a pleasure having you guys on. Walt,
good, same here, Bill.
It's always good to see you. You know that. And Eric,
Bill.
great to see you. So
thank you.
we appreciate you driving or coming all the way to Iowa, to see us here at Sinclair. So thanks for coming to the Sinclair Reloading Room.
Thank you, Bill.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.